Welcome to another informational video on HamSphere 4.0. Each of my videos will start with this same short section on what is HamSphere 4.0. Well, as a HamSphere 4.0 user and a licensed amateur radio operator, I look at it this way. HamSphere 4.0 is to ham radio what an advanced flight simulator is to flying. It's a simulation, but it's an incredibly realistic simulation. HamSphere 4.0 includes simulations of how the sunspots affect the ionosphere using current real sunspot numbers. It simulates the multiple paths that signals take through the atmosphere, getting from one location to another. And it even simulates the behavior of different types of antennas. You use all of these things in HamSphere 4.0 as you experienced an incredibly realistic simulation of ham radio. This video is going to give you some of the basic information on using the propagation prediction software to figure out what bands are open to or likely open to which parts of the world, or to plan your contact with someone in a certain part of the world to find out when and on which band that would be most likely successful. And then we'll use some of that information we learned from VOACAP to go on and make some contacts. The quickest way to get to VOACAP, if you are already on the HamSphere 4 login screen, is from the VOACAP shortwave propagation prediction link that's built into the login screen. So if I click on that, it will open up my browser and it'll take me to the point-to-point prediction page for VOACAP. Now what you can do, if you prefer, is you can just go to a browser and put in voacap.com, and it will take you to the main page. And if you have an interest in propagation, the history of VOACAP, all that stuff, there is so much information here that you can learn. And the cool thing about HamSphere 4.0 is all the stuff that you learn about propagation is you don't have to look for HamSphere propagation. Look for realistic propagation. Learn about realistic propagation if you're interested in that, and it all applies. So partway down the page here on the voacap.com are the two links that I use most. The point-to-point predictions, which will take you to this same page that the link from the HamSphere 4 login screen will, and the coverage area map prediction, which I will talk about in a minute. If you don't want to open your browser and go to voacap.com, you just want to use the link from the HamSphere login screen, then this is, like I said, point-to-point. And down here at the bottom, if you click on More on VOACAP HF propagation predictions, it will in fact take you to voacap.com so that you can then get to the coverage area map prediction. So let's start with the point-to-point prediction, since that's what comes up from the HamSphere 4 login screen. The idea here is to look at a path between your location, your home location, and some other location versus time of day and the various bands that you can choose from. And you'll also learn some useful information like which direction you might point a directional antenna to talk to a particular station. Now down here you have information on the transmitter site and the receiver site. If you want to switch those two around, you can just double click on the red or blue marker, red being transmitter, blue being receiver, and it will flip them. So now this is the transmitter and this is the receiver. I usually just leave the transmitter set to my home QTH because that gives me my bearing to this other location. The question is, how do you get this set to your location? Well, honestly, the easiest way is, since you know where you live, is to just zoom in on the map and just drag the marker around until it's approximately where you live. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. But if you want to be precise, then what you need is your what's called your Maidenhead Grid Locator. There are many ways to figure out what your Maidenhead Grid Locator is. You can Google that and go to Maps or put in your latitude and longitude. One of the easiest ways for HamSphere users is to go to the HamSphere download page, which is where you set your coordinates when you downloaded the software. And based on how you set your latitude and longitude, it figured out your grid locator for you. So you can see that mine is CN85ST, and so if I just copy that from there and paste it in here and then say location calc, now it has put me at that exact location. Now, what about the person that you're trying to talk to? If you know, let's say you want to know, you see that somebody in Egypt is on, and you want to know if you have a chance to talk to them or when you might have a chance to talk to them. You could just drag this the receiver to Egypt. But if you know if you see them in the cluster on the HamSphere 4 transceiver and you click on their call sign in the cluster, it'll bring up information over in the DX spotting window, and part of the information it shows you is their locator. So for instance, I go to the cluster here, I see this station ZS6ZA, I click on their call and it brings up the information over here, including latitude, longitude, and the grid locator. And so you could type that in to this thing and hit location calc, and it would locate it right where they are. Sometimes I do that if I can't figure out on the map where a certain tiny island or country is. So that's the business about getting the locations set. Now, some people are going to worry about some of these other details. They're going to, instead of letting VOACAP figure out the sunspot number, you'll notice here it says VOACAP Online knows the current sunspot number values, therefore do not set any value unless you want to experiment. But some people go out and find the sunspot number on their own and put it in. The question of should you change these antennas to match what antennas you are using or what you think someone else is using, a lot of people do that. It does make a difference, as you can imagine, because different antennas work differently. CW can make it through the weak signal and noise easier than voice. So if you change this to a single sideband, you'll see a little less probability of success. But again, I usually don't worry about it. Now, let's go and see how to read this table for my example of from my location to Egypt. This circle here is 24 hours of the day in UTC time. Notice this circle in the middle. It tells you where your where your mouse is pointing. So here's the 80-meter band at 0400, the 0400 hour of UTC, and you can see that the circle in the middle says 4 UT 80 meter, and of course it's telling me that I have, in its mind, I have a 0% chance of getting from my location to Egypt on 80 meters at 4 UTC. And so anyway, so this is the hours of the day. These concentric circles are the different HF bands from 80 meters up to 10 meters. It's not showing 160 meter predictions, nor is it showing 6 meter predictions. And then the colors are based on this chart here, from white is 0% up to bright red is 100% predicted probability of success. And so if we look at this and we look for the darkest colors we can find, we see that probably this bright yellow is about as good as it gets. And mind you, again, I'm using just 2 dipoles at 33 feet. So this is pretty pessimistic. But I would guess that if I wanted to try to get Egypt during this time of year with current sunspot numbers, that I might look kind of in this 1700 UTC to 2000 UTC on 17 meters. So that's how that works. And again, you can put in a different locator here for another station, or you can just drag this. So if I want to know about talking to the UK, I put it there. If I want to talk to a friend on the east coast of the US, I can put it here. And what you'll notice is that here I've gotten a lot closer to me than Egypt, and a lot of the lower bands now are starting to come into play. And then there's starting to be times when the probability of success gets quite high on some bands at certain times of day. So that's if you want to know about between you and a particular location. What I often use more is the coverage area map prediction. So I'm going to click on that. And what this is there's just one location, which is where you are. And you can do the same things about putting in your locator grid if you want, or dragging the cursor around. It defaults to the current time. So it's in the 1600 hour UTC. And most often I leave default antenna here, even though if you're really wanting to know if you have a 3-element Yagi at 99 feet, let's just do that. And we're going to run 100 watts. I should probably change this from CW, but I usually don't. And I'm curious to know about 20 meters right now during this hour with these conditions. And so I set it all, and I'm going to leave the receive antenna as the dipole, and I'm just going to click Run Prediction. So what I see from this is this map that has from the dark blue, which is very little chance of success, to the dark red, which is a very good chance of success. And what I can see is that at this time on 20 meters with the current sunspot numbers and everything else that I set, that I have a great chance of talking to a lot of North America, a lot of relatively unpopulated parts of the Pacific Ocean, which is just the problem I have with living where I live, is I often get a lot of propagation to where there aren't very many people. Not a great time to talk to South America or Africa, but some chance into Europe, and looks really good into parts of Australia and parts of Asia here. And so that's how that works. And what you can do is go to different bands, and some of this will start to become intuitive as you learn more about the bands. I'm curious to know if 10 meters is predicted to be in. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. That's almost one where you just want to go there and see. And so I changed this to 10 meters, and it looks like maybe down into southern South America. So it might be interesting to go to 10 meters and turn on the DX monitor and see if the southern South America monitor picks me up. So that's the VOACAP prediction, and now we're going to look at me using that at a certain time of day here, and then going on the HamSphere 4 transceiver and finding signals and making some contacts. Okay, it's about 6:50 p.m. here. So let's go to the VOACAP shortwave propagation prediction link. Now before I do that, I'm going to go check the time zone map. I found this map I use here. It's at this address shown. You could probably just Google world time zone map. And I live here on the west coast of the United States, so as I said, it's about 6:50 p.m. That means that all of the United States are at a reasonable time. It's 9:50 on the East Coast. Central and South America, 8:50, 10:50. So pretty much anything in this area is a reasonable time to expect people to be up. Europe and Africa, probably not. It's 3:50 in the morning, 2:50 in the morning here. And if I can get down to Australia or South Pacific, it looks like it's just before noon. So India is 7:30 in the morning, so probably anywhere from India over, depending on propagation. I'm gonna, once again, this is the link that you get when you go from the HamSphere start screen. I'm going to click on this link here to take us back to the VOACAP main page, and I'm going to go to the coverage area map prediction, which you could certainly bookmark so you don't have to go through that every time. And I'm going to leave everything just the defaults: dipole, CW, 100 watts, and check 20 meters. It's coming up on 2 UTC, so let me change that there. Okay, so what we see is parts of North America and Central America, not so good to South America, definitely not to Australia or the South Pacific, and this stuff over here probably doesn't matter because it's very early in the morning there. So looks like I'm going to have to hope for, if I go to 20 meters, hope for North and Central America. And let's go to 20 meters using the default antenna. You notice no antenna selector. You can hear something weak there. Let's go to the cluster on 14230, which is where we are, I believe. Yes. There is a station in Brazil, which, if you recall the map, was not all that good. And there's YU4DX, which I think is in Serbia. Now here's something to notice. Turn this down so you can hear me. Sometimes when you restart the transceiver after a server reset, or just sometimes, everything goes back to its default. So my power was all the way down, my mic was all the way down, my Vox settings changed. By the way, to adjust Vox, if you use it, which I normally don't, you double click on it to change it between gain and delay. Double click, see gain, double click delay. And I'll set these, my microphone and my speaker. So I can copy this station in Brazil, even though propagation wasn't great. They're very, very weak, but they are copyable. But as you may recall from our propagation map, our best bet was most of North America and Central America. So there's somebody on 14220, but I don't think anybody has spotted it. Oh, here we go. It's recently spotted. Oh, by the way, to refresh the cluster, if something new has been spotted and you don't see it, you can hit the green R and it will redraw it with the latest information. So it looks like we have Chile, on, spotted by a station in France.
Station in the USA, Lima Alpha 7, Mike Alpha Propagation in the USA.
Oh, Lima Alpha 7, Tango Mike Alpha, I think is calling CQ. Lima Alpha 7, Tango Mike Alpha. Do you copy? This is Whiskey Bravo 7, Echo Charlie Whiskey. Whiskey Bravo 7, Echo Charlie Whiskey, calling over.
Yeah, I have Whiskey Bravo 7, Echo, and I was there the last one, can you please repeat of that 7?
Yes, QSL. Sorry, propagation is not all that good right now, but I am copying you. The call here in the last three letters are Echo Charlie Whiskey. Echo Charlie Whiskey. Over.
Echo Charlie Whiskey. Echo Charlie Whiskey. All phone is Whiskey Bravo 7, Echo Charlie Whiskey, QSL.
Yes, QSL, Lima Alpha 7, Tango Mike Alpha. This is WB7ECW. Good morning to you. I am using the IDC Vertical. I'm using the IDC Vertical, and I am copying you almost 100%. You're basically about a 5 by 2, a 52 here. The name is Mike. My name is Mike. And my QTH is the state of Washington. I'm wondering how you're copying me. LA7TMA, this is WB7ECW, over.
Well, yeah, I take those for wow. Well, I say it is 5958, and I can barely hear you, my friend Mike. You are pushing 3 Santiago, and I have noise of 3 to Santiago, and so I take you on the voice there. Wow, and quite good condition for me to you there, but and only in IDC Vertical, I think that was impossible in this condition, but anyway, it's going. It's nice, very nice. Local time here is 8 minutes past 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'm living in the central part of Norway, just 1 minute before Sweden. The cities are potentially my village are only 250 people, and most of my neighbors here is farmers. My girlfriend is from a city, so I'm not a farmer. So obviously the Whiskey Bravo 7, Echo calling to go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much, Torsten. Yes, your signal is right down at the noise level also. Propagation isn't the greatest right at the moment, but I do copy you. Thank you for the signal report of S3 there. Sorry, I'm so weak, but just surprised to hear you at all. So thank you for coming back to my call, Torsten, and I'll let you go now so you can try to reach some more stations. It's 7 o'clock at night here, just a little after 7 o'clock at night. And again, thank you for answering my call, and good luck to you, good DX, and we'll talk to you again. LA7TMA, this is WB7ECW, 73.
Yeah, thank you very much, boss. And you helped me to get the new state, so thank you for that. Maybe this is the first time to Norway for me here, unfortunately. Have a very nice evening. That is a free mobile from Lima Alpha 7 Tango Mike Alpha to my Whiskey Bravo 7, Echo Charlie Whiskey, 73 and bye-bye.
Okay, 73, Torsten, thank you. Okay, so that wasn't the easiest contact in the world, but I didn't Didn't expect to get into Europe at all. So you'll notice that I did send a DX spot for Torsten because no one else had spotted him on that frequency, and he was calling CQ, so he probably wants contacts. So I did spot him. I wouldn't have had to. I can log him without spotting him, but in this case, spotting seemed like the perfect thing to do. And yes, it was a rough copy, but if you remember on the map, we didn't have great propagation into Europe, and I didn't expect anybody to be up so early anyway. But now that I have spotted him in the cluster here, or if someone else had on this same frequency, I can log him the same way we did in HamSphere 3 by just clicking on the time, which has moved over here into this column, and it will pre-populate my log entry with his call and his name and the frequency and the mode. I gave him a 5.2, and I will log that QSO, and you can see that he already sent me a QSL card, which is incredible. QSL card, and so I will go ahead and send him one. Click on the S. I'll pick my HamSphere 4 and send him this card, and there we go. So it certainly wasn't a super strong QSO, but it worked. So now just what I'm going to try to do is raise somebody in North America, which it looked like for 20 meters at least was my best bet at this time. So I'm just going to call CQ a little bit. Is this frequency in use? So just in case there's somebody on frequency that I can't hear. Is this frequency in use? And again, while I'm talking, watch my ALC meter. My needle needs to stay in the green. If it gets above that, I need to turn my mic level down. Hello CQ, 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 CQ 20 meters. This is Whiskey Bravo 7, Echo Charlie Whiskey. So I ended up making CQ calls for about 5 minutes. I was persistent because I was pretty confident that I could raise a station in North America at that time on that band. And I did get rewarded with an answer, a nice signal, and ended up having a nice long QSO with the station from Colorado.
Yeah, WB7 ECW. This is Kilo Delta Zero Zulu Delta Uniform. My name is Don. I'm in Colorado, and you're 5x6, 5x7 here in the state of Colorado. Mike, WB7ECW. This is KT0ZDU. Microphone back to you, sir.
After my QSO with Don in Colorado, I thought I had seen some spotting activity, so I decided to see if there were any other stations waiting to call me on frequency. And again, I got called, ended up with a nice signal and a nice QSO with a station from the East Coast. QRZ, I don't know if anyone else was copying me. This is Whiskey Bravo 7, Echo Charlie Whiskey, listening.
Whiskey 1, Bravo Charlie Foxtrot. Good evening, Michael.
Okay, Whiskey 1, Bravo Charlie Foxtrot. I think that might be Norman, but I'm not sure. Call signs, sometimes I don't remember them perfectly. Well, hello. Thank you for the call. You might have heard me telling Don that I'm recording some stuff tonight to try to piece together for a help video, and I'm just showing what I can do with the IDC Vertical. So first I went to VOACAP, showed that 20 meters had propagation mostly to North America. There was a little bit to South America, but not great, and I proved that by barely copying a station in Brazil. And there was some to Europe, but it was quite early there. But then Torsten in Norway was awake and calling CQ. And then I called CQ and proved that North America was in by getting Colorado. And so now I got the East Coast, I believe. And I'm wondering what antenna you're using there. W1 BCF, this WB7 ECW.
WB7 Echo Charlie Fox,
Echo Charlie Whiskey.
Whiskey 1 Bravo Charlie Foxtrot. Yes, Michael, this is Norman, and I'm in Manchester, New Hampshire.
And I had a good long QSO with Norman. We talked about HamSphere 4.0, the great success he had in his initial weeks with the IDC Vertical antenna from New Hampshire, the importance of calling CQ, and many other things. So I may just put a video up on YouTube of my QSO with Norman, but for now I just wanted to show that I received him with a nice signal, and we had a great copy on each other. So here's another interesting thing that happened. You'll notice there was a spot on 14260, which is the frequency I'm on. And if you look at the cluster, whoops, sorry, I got some weird stuff going on here. I heard somebody very weak there, but if you look at the cluster, you'll see that VU3 PPL in India spotted 4S7WN in Sri Lanka. I'm pretty sure that's what that is. Yeah, Sri Lanka. So they're relatively close to each other. They have propagation to each other, just like Norman and I do. But they couldn't hear us. They were having a QSO on 14260 at the same time we were. This is like the real world. This is the way 4.0 works, unlike 3.0. You couldn't have two QSOs on the same frequency. So what that means is that just because somebody shows up in the cluster doesn't mean you can hear them, as witnessed by the fact that we just had these two separate conversations happening on the same frequency. It also means to be very careful when you go to a frequency and you don't think you hear anything. You may just not be hearing one of the stations, and that's why you always ask if the frequency is in use before you start transmitting.